The Pittsburgh Steelers just shocked everyone as they not only went out and sent a serious message to the rest of the NFL, they did exactly what they had to do on the back of Patrick Queen, Aaron Rodgers, and a ton of others, and undoubtedly the biggest game of the year, and you can argue the biggest game in a very long time, given the stakes surrounding Mike Tomlin's future in Pittsburgh. They not only get the win, but they do so in incredible fashion. We're going to break down the entire game and discuss what it means going forward, as this was huge. A ton to go over today, folks. Before we get into it all, if you're excited now, the Pittsburgh Steelers have reclaimed the lead in the division and have increased their playoff odds by a lot. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. This is the place to be for daily Steelers content, making videos every day for you all. Folks, let's dive right into it. Heading into the game, the big storyline was Mike Tomlin. Can he carry this team to the win today? This is the biggest game of the year, and with the schedule ahead looking pretty favorable for Pittsburgh and looking very, very promising after this game. If they were able to get the win, which they did, they come out and they do so on the same day that Joe Burrow and the Bengals go ahead and lose as well, kind of taking them out of the equation. Folks, let's dive right into it. And what a crazy game this was. Now, there was a ton of injuries in this game. Their left tackles, they were using their fourth string left tackle. A ton of crazy things. But let's start with the stats as per usual, folks. Aaron Rodgers, 23 for 34 for 284 yards and one passing touchdown. And of course, he started off the game with a bang. He threw a 50-plus yard throw to DK Metcalf, who had a very good game. And it was clear from the start that Arthur Smith, among the other coaches there, wanted to get everybody involved and specifically start throwing some deep balls. They hadn't thrown one in ages, and they go out and they do exactly what they needed to do against a Ravens team that, looked pretty good, especially with Lamar Jackson getting his health back. You have Kenneth Gainwell. They barely ran the ball today. Kenneth Gainwell and Jaylen Warren, they combined for a total of 34 yards. Caleb Johnson getting a couple snaps in there and a couple reps. DK Metcalf, 7 receptions, 148 yards, no touchdowns, but averaged 21 yards per reception, which is, if you're a Steelers fan like I am and everybody, you never see this from the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. They haven't been throwing deep balls, and of course, Aaron Rodgers today was finally able to catch balls under center, but also shout out Jaylen Warren for getting that huge touchdown, which was a long receiving touchdown, but also Calvin Austin with a crucial 31-yard catch. You have Kenneth Gainwell, a few catches there. Ben Skronik, 13 yards. Darnell Washington, who went down with an injury, and there's a ton of injuries to go over here with a concussion, he is down as well. It was a crazy one. And we'll dive back into the offense in a little bit, but let's give our flowers to the defense. What an insane game from the defense today, because you're going up against the most dynamic quarterback outside of maybe Josh Allen in the NFL when healthy in Lamar Jackson. And yes, he wasn't 100%, but he really started to use his legs. And this was something that heading into the game today, one of the biggest things was, okay, if Lamar Jackson's legs are limited, you can really, it really opens up the game for the defense and kind of limits Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Lamar's legs look pretty dang good, but what a job by a bunch of people defensively. Insane game for James Pierre. And I want to start with that. He had just really good play after really good play. A couple of bad plays, but that's going to happen every single game. Cole Holcomb, a solid game as well. Alex Highsmith with a sack. TJ Watt came to play early. He was steamrolling the O-line of the Ravens, and this is the guy you pay $40 million, $50 million to. It's to win games like this, and from the get-go, he was locked in. And this is all coming after Aaron Rodgers said that they had the best practice of their season over the past few days. And guess what? They come out and they're able to do exactly what they needed him to do, but Patrick Queen cannot go unnoticed. He was arguably the best defender out there between either side, and just an incredible display from Patrick Queen, who goes down with an injury, and you're thinking this is like the 8th injury of the game. Guess what? He comes back out and gets one of the most important tackles of the game, and it was crazy. It was absolutely wild. And of course, Alex Highsmith had the sack on Lamar Jackson to end the game. And their defense at times was, you had a 1st and 20. They had one timeout left, and you let them get to the 30-yard line, which is their own 30-yard line, which is get to the 30-yard line in general, which is very scary. But you get the job done. I don't care how it happened. They got the win. And shout out DK Metcalf. Shout out everyone. You can argue the refs did the Steelers a bit of a favor, but we're due for that with the way that the refs have been calling the games this year. Probably should have been a touchdown, but they overturned it because, and shout out James Pierre again, punching the ball out, doing all these different things properly. It was Isaiah Likely, I believe it was, who caught the touchdown, and then it got overturned. So that was a game changer, but what an insane game in a game where their top 3 left tackles were injured. Cook had to come in, and shout out to Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin there. They kind of, overloaded that side and gave him a little bit of help, which is what a good coaching staff does anyway. But Andres Pete went down with a concussion. Dylan Cook came in. I mean, you had Calvin Anderson, all these different guys. Calvin Anderson was out before this game with a knee injury, but you had so many of your left tackles go down. Malik Harrison is out as well with a concussion. It was injury after injury after injury, but they got the job done. And Brandon Echols with an insane game. Now, James Pierre obviously got an interception on Lamar Jackson. Brandon Echols made a few fantastic plays. Jalen Ramsey didn't look great today. He was a little bit slow back there in the secondary, but just an insane game from Queen. Shout out Mike Tomlin for being aggressive early, both in the passing game and Arthur Smith, of course, but also going for it on 4th down, throwing the challenge flag. And it didn't necessarily work, but throwing it, I like the aggressiveness. It's something that Mike Tomlin doesn't usually do. He's willing to change, at least for this game. And man, you can see here, what a play by James Pierre. Lamar uncorked a 50-50, and he pushes Hopkins out for an incompletion. And outside of James Pierre's interception, you also had him playing some really, really good defense, right? Just a fantastic, fantastic game. And that 4th and 5th that he forced was crucial, because there's a very real world where he didn't get that. And in a game where Aaron Rodgers had he threw a ball, got tipped, and then he, with a broken wrist, went up and got it back, and they called him initially, a turnover, but ultimately he was down. His knee was down, even though John Harbaugh was really upset at that. And of course, they just played such a good defensive game, and Patrick Queen was at the forefront of it, folks. Darnell Washington, he was also out, and that really affected their run game. You look at the game, if you weren't watching, you're wondering why their rushing game wasn't as good as previous games. One, their passing game was so much better today in general, but you're also without Darnell Washington, who acts as a tackle, right? And he is a very, very good one at that, obviously. And there was also times where I think Darnell Washington probably would have had a couple opportunities in the end zone, but he did have a concussion. He missed the game. And just an insane game for everyone involved. Was there, stretches where it was bad play? Absolutely. Was there some defensive breakdowns? Yeah, but from both sides. The Ravens had the worst defensive breakdown of the day. But you can see here again, they had the Isaiah Likely touchdown. And it was actually Joey Porter who poked it out, not James Pierre. But Joey Porter poked it out of Isaiah Likely's hand. So shout out to Joey Porter, who keeps getting really, bad. He plays really good D and then gets really bad penalties downfield when completely out of the play anyway. But folks, that'll wrap it up. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. An insane game, a serious message, and the Steelers just shocked everyone, and all of a sudden are first in the division with the 2nd easiest schedule in the division behind the Bengals, who just lost.